If you own a home in Fort Lauderdale and you're thinking about selling, this video is for you. The market has shifted, not collapsed, not crashed, shifted. And if you're making decisions about when to move, what to price your home at, or whether now is even the right time, you need to understand exactly what that shift means. I'm Lourdes Maestres. I have been selling luxury real estate here in the city of Fort Lauderdale for 17 years. I have done over 600 market analysis in this city, and I study this market every single day. Today, I'm going to tell you what I'm actually seeing on the ground right now in Las Olas Isles, Coral Ridge, Rio Vista, and the surrounding luxury markets. What the numbers are saying, what buyers are doing, and what it all means if you're thinking about selling your home in the next 3 to 6 months. Now let's get into it. If you like a long, hot summer breeze, dives into an incredible beat. Let me start with a number that tells you everything about where this market is right now. We started the month of July with over 2,600 properties on the market right across all price points between single family homes and condo. And 800 of those homes are actually priced at $1 million and more. 50% of that inventory are single family homes and the other 50% are condominiums. But who cares? What does that mean to you? It means that this is your competition if you're thinking about moving in the luxury segment. Now here's where it gets interesting. Despite everything you've been hearing about the market slowing down, 94 homes sold in the month of June in Fort Lauderdale that were priced over $1 million. So yes, buyers are still out there. Now, here's something that caught my attention. Out of all those homes that sold in the month of June, 3 of them actually were over $10 million. Honestly, that's a pretty good month for Fort Lauderdale. And here's why. On average, only 20 to 27 homes over 10 million sell in an entire year. So when you see 3 homes sell, that is a very good positive sign. It tells me one thing. There are buyers in the ultra luxury market. They're not buying everything. They're definitely more selective. They're negotiating harder than they did a few years ago, but they're still writing checks for exceptional properties.
So if you're hearing people say nothing is selling in the luxury market,
that is simply not true. The reality is this: the right homes are selling. The overpriced homes are sitting, and that's a huge difference. But here's what most market reports don't tell you. They tell you what's sold, they tell you what's available, but they don't tell you what disappeared. In Fort Lauderdale, it's very common for the luxury homeowners who aren't highly motivated to simply take their homes off the market during the summer months. They'll cancel the listing, withdraw it, temporarily take it off the market, or let it expire. But why? Because the summer is always considered our slower season. The buyers we're seeing right now are mostly local buyers. They're also first-time home buyers in the lower price point, and the savvy out-of-town buyers who understand the Fort Lauderdale market and know this can be a great time to negotiate a good deal. In June alone, 127 homes came off the market. They were canceled, withdrawn, expired, or temporary off the market. That's a lot. So what does that mean for you if you're thinking about selling? It means your pricing, your presentation, and your marketing have to be strong enough to make your home the obvious choice. Because this is one of those markets where strategy matters more than the market itself. I've sold homes in markets that were way more difficult than this one. I've also watched homeowners lose hundreds of thousands of dollars because they started with the wrong price or the wrong strategy. That data isn't here to scare you, it's here to prepare you. Now, make no mistake, 2026 is a buyer's market in most Fort Lauderdale neighborhoods. But that's only part one of the story. What really separates the homes that sell from the ones that sit is the condition of the home. If you like a long, hot summer breeze. Today's buyers want new construction. They want move-in ready. They don't want a project, even if they have the money. They don't want to spend the next 12 months dealing with contractors in South Florida. If your home is priced correctly, presented beautifully, and marketed the right way, it is going to sell, even in this market, even during the summer, even when it's 95 degrees out and half of South Florida feels like it's in Europe for the season. Homes are still selling. Now let me talk about one statistic that I think gets misunderstood all the time: the list to sell price ratio. People love to quote it. You'll hear things like,
Homes are selling for 92% of asking price.
I'm going to be brutally honest. That number can be very misleading, and here's why. That percentage is calculated from the last asking price, not the original price. So what happens? A seller lists the property too high, they don't get any offers, then they reduce the price, maybe they take it off the market, and then they relist it at almost the same price, or they lower the price, and as if buyers somehow forgot it was already sitting there. I call that the manipulation strategy. And believe it or not, sometimes I have sellers who want to do the same thing. The truth is the market usually doesn't respond well to it because buyers today are smarter than what they've ever been. They've seen the price history. They know how long the home has been sitting on the market. And they know when a seller is chasing the market instead of leading it. At the end of the day, the market will always speak. The market doesn't care what you paid for the house. It doesn't care how much money you spend on upgrades. And it definitely does not care what you think your home is worth. The only thing that matters is what a buyer, a qualified buyer, is willing to pay for your home today. So let's break it down. What buyers are actually looking at today. Starting with the $1 million to $3 million price range, if you're selling in this category, here's your competition. Right now, buyers have about 500 homes to choose from. So if you're looking to sell, that's your competition. And about 200 of those are single-family homes and the other 300 are condominiums. So yes, buyers have options, which means if you're thinking,
I'm just going to throw my home on the market and see what happens,
that's probably not going to go very well. Because in this market, buyers aren't settling. They're comparing your home against hundreds of other homes. They're looking at the price, they're looking at condition, insurance cost, location, and whether your home is in move-in ready condition. If your home doesn't stand out, it gets overlooked. Now let's move up to the $3 million to $7 million price range. That's my favorite price point. Right now, buyers have over 200 homes to choose from. About half are single-family homes and the other half are condos. In June alone, we had 12 of those homes actually sell in that price point. So do the math with me. That's roughly a 60-month supply of inventory. Honestly, not bad. For luxury real estate, it's actually pretty normal. But here's what the numbers don't tell you. When you start looking at the homes that actually closed, you will notice something interesting. A lot of them didn't sell the first time around. They sat. The sellers had to reduce it. The price, they relaunched the listing or changed their marketing before they finally found a buyer. And there's another trend that's becoming impossible to ignore. Buyers want new construction. They want concrete and steel. They want lower insurance premiums. They want a home they can move in tomorrow without having to spend another $1 million on renovations. Meanwhile, a lot of the homes that were built in the 1950s and 60s are selling for less than what many buyers paid during the peak of the market in 2022, 2023. So if you bought your home in 2022, 2023, and you haven't done any major renovations, and now life happens and you have to sell, I don't have good news for you. The market doesn't care what you paid for. The market definitely doesn't care what you owe, and the market does not care what your neighbor sold for 2 years ago. It only cares about what buyers are willing to pay today. Now, if you own a brand new home and your insurance costs are lower, your home was built with concrete and steel with the new construction codes, and everything is move-in ready, you are in a completely different position. Those are the homes that the buyers are chasing. Those are the calls that I'm getting right now. Those are the homes that are getting the most amount of showings. And yes, those are the homes that are still selling quickly and sometimes with multiple offers. Now, I want to talk to you about buyers for a minute because I think this is where a lot of the homeowners get it wrong. They assume all luxury buyers are looking for the same thing, and they're not. And they assume if their home is beautiful, someone will eventually buy it. That's not how today's market works. Right now, the waterfront buyer is by far the most active buyer in Fort Lauderdale. And when you look at the numbers, it makes perfect sense. As we head into the month of July, Fort Lauderdale has more than 1,000 waterfront properties on the market right now. And when I say waterfront, I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about oceanfront, intracoastal, canal front homes, homes that are on the new river, properties with fixed bridges, and properties with no fixed bridges. Within that, 57 of those homes are listed over $10 million. And they go all the way up to $55 million for an estate on Middle River with more than 15,000 square feet. Think about that for a second. That's an incredible amount of inventory for one city, which also means buyers at the high end have choices, lots of choices. They're comparing dockage, water frontage, ocean access, bridge restrictions, and then the quality of the construction and insurance costs, and also the floor plan, and whether the home feels worth the asking price. They're not falling in love with the first waterfront home they see. They are shopping, they are negotiating, and they're waiting for the one that stands out. And they will pay top dollar for that home. So if you're selling a waterfront home today, you're not just competing with your neighborhood, you're competing with other thousands of properties across Fort Lauderdale. That's why pricing, presentation, and marketing matters more today than they have in years. Let me tell you what I'm actually seeing during showings, because this is very different from what I was seeing 2 or 3 years ago. Today, the buyer is informed. They are patient, sometimes, and they're extremely selective. By the time they walk through your front door, they have already done their homework. They've already looked at every comparable home online. They know the price per square foot. They know which homes have been sitting for 6 months. They know which ones have had price reductions. And within the first few minutes of walking into your home, they already know whether it's priced to sell or it's priced to hope. Now let's talk about out-of-state buyers, because they're still a huge part of the luxury market, whether they're coming from New York, from Chicago, California, or even overseas, like Canada. They usually don't have months to shop around. Many of them are relocating, or they're in a tight timeline. Sometimes they'll fly in for one weekend. They'll see 4 or 5 homes and make a decision before they get back on the plane. Those are my favorite buyers. Some of them buy a home before they even finish it. And here's what's important. They're buying your home long before they ever walk through the front door, because they're judging it based on the photography, on the video, the online marketing, the floor plan, and the price. If your digital presentation isn't exceptional, you may never get that showing. The first showing is always online. Now compare that to the local buyer from Fort Lauderdale. They're completely different. They know the neighborhoods. They know who lives in every house. They've been watching the market. They've probably seen 3 to 4 competing homes before they even walked into yours. And they're going to every open house as well. They're comparing everything, the finishes, the floor plan, who was the builder, the waterfront, the insurance cost, the location. And they're not in a hurry typically. That's why their feedback is usually much more detailed, and sometimes it's hard for sellers to hear. But honestly, the feedback is gold, because it's the closest thing you will ever get to hearing exactly what the market thinks about your home. I pay close attention to showing feedback, because when I hear the same comment 3 times from different buyers in the same week, that's no longer an opinion. That is the market speaking, and my job isn't to protect your feelings. My job is to make sure that you hear what the market is telling us about your home, so we can make the right choice together before your home becomes stale. Before we keep going, a quick note. We work with real estate agents from all over the country, and referrals are a big part of our business. Your client will be taken care of at a very high level, and you will be kept informed every step of the way. And if you're watching this from outside of Florida, maybe you're thinking about buying or selling where you live, we can help with that too. Over the last 17 years, I have built relationships with some of the top agents across the country that operate the way we operate here. So instead of taking a chance on someone you found online, reach out to me. We will connect you with an agent that we know and that we trust. The contact information is in the description below. Now, let's get back to the market. Now, let me get specific because I don't just look at the numbers. I work in these neighborhoods every single day. Let's get started with Coral Ridge. And yes, I'm a little biased. It's one of my favorite neighborhoods. I lived in Coral Ridge for 10 years and I still own a home there, which by the way, I plan on building a new home in that lot. So that's how much I believe in this neighborhood. As we head into the month of July, there are 71 homes available on the market right now in Coral Ridge that are priced just a little bit under $1 million and go all the way to $12 million. Now, here's what really stands out. 18 of those homes are brand new construction, like 2024, 2025, or 2026. And some are still under construction and scheduled to be completed in 2027. That product is definitely going to move. That's a great sign. It also tells me that builders are still investing millions of dollars in Coral Ridge because they believe in the future of this neighborhood. And there's another reality. That home listed at just a little bit under $1 million at $999,000, you're not buying the house, even though there may be a house on it, you're buying the land. That's what land is worth today in Coral Ridge. So if you own one of those homes that are newer, you're in a great position. That's exactly what today's buyers are looking for. But if your home is older and hasn't been updated recently, like the last 2 years, you need to understand what you're competing against. You're not competing with 1 or 2 listings. You're competing with more than 50 homes, many of them that are in move-in ready and updated. That's a reality of today's market. So if you own a home in Coral Ridge and you're thinking about selling, let's have a conversation. I know this neighborhood very well. I've lived here, I've invested here, and I've sold here. And I believe it's one of the best neighborhoods in Fort Lauderdale. Now let's talk about one of the most iconic luxury markets in Fort Lauderdale, Las Olas Isles and Idlewild. As we head into the month of July, right now there are 60 homes available on the market. Not that many, but and the price range is incredible. At the entry point, you're looking at about $2.2 million, and for that, you're essentially buying land, an 8,000 square foot dry lot with the opportunity to build your dream home. At the other end of the market, then you have a spectacular estate listed at $44 million with over 10,000 square feet under air, with like close to 300 feet of prime waterfront. So that's the range of the inventory buyers are shopping today. Now let's talk about what has happened in this neighborhood over the last several years. If you've lived in Fort Lauderdale for any length of time, you have watched Las Olas Isles transform. Older waterfront homes have been demolished and replaced with some of the most impressive new construction homes anywhere in South Florida. Today, Las Olas Isles isn't just one of the most desirable neighborhoods in Fort Lauderdale, it's one of the premier waterfront communities in the entire country. But here's what has changed. Buyers have more choices today than they did just a few years ago. They're taking their time, they're comparing properties, they're negotiating, and they're waiting for the home that truly stands out. That doesn't mean the luxury market is weak. It means buyers just are more selective. So if your home is new, built with a new code, and concrete and steel, has exceptional dockage, no fixed bridges, and it's priced correctly, there are still buyers willing to pay top dollar. But if you're pricing your home based on what your neighbor sold in 2022, or you're hoping buyers will overlook an outdated home because it's on the water, the market is going to push back on that. I've said this for years. In Las Olas Isles, buyers aren't just buying a house. They're buying the waterfront. They're buying the boating lifestyle. They're buying the location, and in many cases, they're buying the land. And that's exactly why builders continue investing millions of dollars in this neighborhood. They see the long-term value, and that's why Las Olas Isles continues to be one of the strongest tree markets in Fort Lauderdale. Like a long, hot summer breeze, into an incredible beat. Hey, with your friend. Most people don't lose money in real estate because of the market. They lose money because they made the wrong decision with bad information. If you want honest market updates backed by real data, subscribe to my channel. Every single month, I'm going to tell you exactly what's happening in the city of Fort Lauderdale. No fluff, no hype, just the truth. Every neighborhood tells you a different story. So if there's one that you would like me to analyze, leave it in the comments. I will review the numbers and explain it to you. what they actually mean.
Leave you like a